It's the Morgan You Know Comedy Movie Draft.
There's so many ways you can read something that's funny. What are you watching a movie for if you got to read it?
Who will win? Cowboy Derek,
Crazy characters such as you guys.
Rachel,
But just like you, I feel like that's something I quote consistently.
Rod,
I'm in the trenches taking grenades, John.
Old Man Chris,
I mean, you're supposed to be a movie guy.
Jimmy. Personal shots here, come on!
That's why it's my wild card.
The Morgan You Know Podcast, available on all podcast providers.
Hello, Internet. The Morgan You Know Podcast Network presents Balls Brew.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the flagship sports podcast here on the Morgan You Know Podcasting Network. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Rod Morgan. I am your affable host. Joining me are my three fellas. That's right, all three reunited this week. Joining us first, back after taking a week off. And he is tempting fate because when he took a week off from the podcast, his Chicago Bears rose up out of the dead. It is the executive producer of this and every other podcast on the Morgan You Know Podcasting Network. He's our superstar. He's Jimmy Jamriska.
We've got the number one quarterback as far as touchdowns go in the NFL. Let's go.
There we go. See, I believe I said a couple weeks ago that the Bears had the entire NFL right where they wanted them, and you guys all laughed at me. Somebody I know that laughed at me is the old man joining us down in North Carolina. He's somebody who actually opened a door for John Fox at a bingo hall once time. It's Chris King. Chris, hello.
You know, I met John Fox like a couple other times, like after that, and I just wasn't ever really all that impressed. Sorry, John.
Continuing your streak of having bad interactions with ex-NFL head coaches. If you're in the universe out there, keep track of the list that goes along this year, and you will be staggered by all the former NFL coaches Chris has had a problem with. Someone who doesn't have a problem with NFL coaches other than when they make bad decisions during the game is our football handicapper. He's our guy, Josh Williams. Josh, hello.
You want to talk about a bad decision, me going against Shanahan last week. My
Yikes!
goodness. We can get to how bad McCarthy was in a second, but my God, that was just terrible by me. 1-2 against the spread last week. I got to get back on track.
Yes, you sure do. And let's go to the cousin Sal, if you will, of this podcast, our resident Cowboys fan. Chris, just take us through your emotions as that game was unfolding. How soon did you realize your night was going to be not very much fun?
I was, as a realist Cowboys fan, I was not expecting to win this game. I was expecting our defense to play a little bit better. And that's where my disappointment came from. It was the amount of wide open receivers I continued to see all throughout that game with San Francisco, just getting whatever they wanted. We did not look like a competent defense. I know we have injuries, and I like to use that as an excuse, but that's what I saw was unacceptable. If we want to be a legit contender in the NFC, your defense cannot perform that horribly.
Williams, I'm going to bring you in here this way. I must admit, I give you an awful lot of guff on this podcast about Shanahan from time to time, but the amount of times I've actually sat down and watched a Kyle Shanahan called game are probably, you can count them on one hand. And so I was ready for this game. I sat down, I watched it all the way up to some point in the third quarter, and then I finally said, all right, I'm done with this, and I moved on to something else. But I came away impressed, Mr. Williams. So should we out here in podcast land, should we think that that game has more to do with Shanahan's brilliance or the fact that Chris was onto something when he said the Cowboys defense was really faltering?
I mean, Shanahan, absolute clinic. What are you doing? You've only seen Shanahan coach like 5 times. What in the world is going on over there at the Rod Morgan Studios?
Okay? I'm the entertainment of this podcast, all right? You and Chris are supposed to be the guys who do the numbers, all right? So I expect you guys to watch the games. Me, I just check in on I'm kind of like Taylor Swift. I just pop in for the big games that really mean something, all right?
Yeah. Shanahan put on an absolute clinic. First 5 games this year, he's got 31 points on the first drives of those games. And I knew I was in trouble back in Dallas on the first play of the game. McCarthy on defense. First play of the game. This doesn't have to do anything with McCarthy, but on the first play of the game, face mask, 15 yards. And I said, oh, my God. Here we go again with these stupid penalties. They had a slot corner line up on 3rd and 5, like 2 yards offsides. It was ridiculous. The undisciplinary Cowboys again, strike again. McCarthy's been like locked in his bunker for like 36 straight hours, evidently, trying to figure out what went wrong. Dude, I mean, it's not rocket science. Quit making so many stupid penalties and put some pre-snap motion on the offense. I'm actually a believer in Dak. I think you can win a Super Bowl with Dak, but you can't let him sit back there with no motion and just try to pick off the defenses. You have to give him motion. You have to give him play action. You have to boot him. You have to throw the ball down. The one time they throw the ball down the field accurately, they hit Kevontae Turpin, who's like the fourth wide receiver on the team, for a touchdown. And like they do not do enough of that. And so McCarthy's trying to figure out what went wrong. You got to get more pre-snap motion. Just look at Shanahan. Just watch Shanahan and try to steal some of his plays, man. Because if I tell you what, if the coaches were switched, Dallas Cowboys win that game.
Jimmy, you're our big picture guy. You kind of just look at these things as who's a contender, who's not a contender. You're always looking a little bit down the road. Do you pour dirt on Dallas here the way Chris has been talking about, or do you think, this is just a little hiccup early in the season and they're still one of the better teams in the NFC?
Whenever fans can see what you need to be doing and your head coach and your offensive coordinator can't see that, that's a red flag. McCarthy's done. He's been done for a decade. He's not going to take them anywhere. They might go to the first round. They're going to lose again because it's what the Cowboys do. I'm sorry. The 49ers are better than the Cowboys. I think that's pretty clear. But they shouldn't be that much better. Coaching had a lot to do with that. Williams is right.
All right, Chris, let's let you finish with Dallas here since you're the Dallas fan. How worried are you for the rest of the season? Are you basically just what Jimmy said there? This is a fait accompli. McCarthy's getting fired. Or do you think somehow there's going to be a fire lit with the boys with the star on their helmet and we're going to see some wonderful things out of them?
No, you'll see good things out of them. They're still a playoff team in the NFC. Let's not get it twisted this much here. We don't have to play San Francisco or Arizona every week of the season. But I don't like when we are putting forth after the first couple weeks, a team identity of a tough, hard-nosed defense with a running game offense that can stop teams and put points on the board, and that was not what I saw. I throw this type of loss. I know McCarthy did not do well, but we have a coordinator that is supposed to be the rock of this team, and his defense is supposed to be that rock, and they did not show up. All right, that has bigger concern to me than something I've already seen happen with this team before.
All right, so my final question here is, and then we're going to dip our toes into college football a little bit because I can't help but dig the knife in. Bigger, embarrassing loss over the weekend: Notre Dame losing to Louisville, or Dallas absolutely getting wiped by San Francisco? Williams, you go first.
Oh, I think it was Dallas. I think the main cause, if you want to point the finger at anybody on Notre Dame, it's Jack Swarbrick, the AD. You can't schedule 8 straight games. Notre Dame played in week 0. And by the way, they played in week 0 across the pond in a different country. Okay. And then you don't schedule a bye week. And then you have 4 straight night games versus top 25 opponents. I cannot stress to you enough, the people who don't bet, the people who are extremely sharp in the betting world, they look at travel schedules immensely, and the public does not really factor that in. I knew that there was going to be a letdown coming from Notre Dame. Now, I didn't know Sam Hartman was going to throw 5 picks, but you could see that coming. They are gassed right now because they didn't have a bye week, and they should have scheduled a bye week before this USC game instead of after the USC game. It's a terrible, terrible job by the Notre Dame athletic director.
Jimmy, I'm going to go to you on this because I believe in your younger football days, you played a little bit of offensive line. The Notre Dame offensive coordinator decided to rotate interior offensive linemen in that game. We had different people playing right and left guard. We had different people playing center. I've never heard of that before. Am I wrong? Is that something that more teams do, or is that maybe a reason why Notre Dame was a bit in disarray on offense?
I liked it because it was every play they got a new position, so that's fun. It keeps you awake. But in all serious, this again, Williams, I'm sorry. I'm agreeing with Williams a lot. Chris, you and I have to fight in a few minutes just to get me back on track. But he's right. They're exhausted. That's why they had to do it. Everyone was tired. You're playing so many games in a row. You cannot be a top 5 team in the NCAA football unless you're scheduling bias or scheduling easier opponents. I know Notre Dame doesn't do that all the time. They still do that sometimes. It's horrible. And no one does that because you shouldn't do it because you lose games that way.
Chris, typical Notre Dame, probably a little overrated at the beginning of the year. People up here get excited because we beat some also-ran opponents, and then we go lock horns with teams that are good, like Ohio State, lose in heartbreaking fashion. We almost get beat by Duke, get beat by Louisville, and this week they're probably just going to get absolutely trounced by USC, no?
Yeah, and unfortunately, this is what Notre Dame has to deal with. Yeah, you would like to see them get that bye week in there, but as an independent football team in the NCAA, you get pushed and you have to take weeks against these conference teams like a Louisville when you maybe not want to. Maybe you would rather have a bye week then, but you can't because you have to fill your schedule. But that wasn't even the most embarrassing thing of the weekend. All right. That was embarrassing, just as Dallas was embarrassed by San Francisco. But Miami Hurricanes, they take the cake when it comes to embarrassing losses. They lost to Georgia Tech because they didn't want to take a knee in the last 36 seconds of the game when they would have had it won. Instead, they run the ball up the middle and the running back fumbles because he doesn't go down. It's just the idiocracy that comes out of a coaching decision like that baffles me.
Nice pull on idiocracy there, my friend. I saw you struggling for a second. You got there. I was happy for
Shout
you.
out Luke Wilson.
Jimmy, he just gave us a heel, but I know you don't dip into the college football world for your face and your heel. So who do you got for face heel in the NFL world?
Oh, finally. DJ Moore was unleashed. 8 receptions, 230 yards, 3 touchdowns. What an amazing game for him. That third touchdown was all him, too, because Fields missed that throw. I just think that I'm not going to get a lot of time, not going to get a lot of opportunities to shout out my Bears. When they do bad, I call them out as the heel. It's the Chicago Bears heel of the week, okay? But when they do well, I'm going to call them out, too. DJ Moore, our face of the week.
Now, Mr. Williams, I want to come to you on this because you're our guy on play calling and stuff. I heard that the Bears literally just kind of simplified some of their passing routes and literally called a couple of those this is the DJ Moore play. And they just told him throw the ball to DJ Moore. Is that a pretty good idea?
Yeah, I mean, you traded for the guy, you might as well use him. And by the way, he could have had 4 touchdowns. I think he did have 4 touchdowns. And they didn't show the replay on that. Actually, there was a shot on Twitter that went overhead, and it looked like he did not step out. So imagine that DJ Moore 4th touchdown. It did pay out. His 3 touchdowns the other night paid out 95-1 if you were lucky enough to predict that.
Where were you out on the futures market watch on that one, Williams? Come on, man. You got to be giving out the 95-1 shots that are going to pay off here.
Slacking on a Bears wide receiver to score 3 touchdowns.
In your defense.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, you've been skeptical of these Bears last year and again at this year when we were all saying they were going to be good at the beginning of the year. Then you were reveling in them being terrible. What do you think of their performance the last 2 weeks? I know it's actually only 1 win, but at least the offense is showing signs of life.
I mean, if you're a Bears fan, you are going to celebrate any type of positive showing by your team. So if you're a Bears fan, be happy. Just be realistic that this is not going to continue.
Look at Chris digging the shots in there. That is our obligatory Bears check-in. Thanks to Jimmy for having a bear as part of his heel and face. Who do we got, though, Jimmy? We had the good. There's got to be the bad.
Well, I usually go with someone named Jones in the quarterback position, so I'm just going to continue doing that this week. By the way, Williams, I was right, just for the record, on Daniel. I am also right on Mac Jones. Unfortunately, the Patriots are a train wreck, and Mac Jones, I almost said Max again. Mac Jones is the conductor. He's got 1,000 yards on the season. That's good. He also has 6 interceptions, 5 touchdowns, and I believe his quarterback rating last week was in the single digits. He may not be starting. Mac Jones, heel of the week.
All right, Chris, we got to come to you on this. I mean, you're our Belichick guy here. We all continue to try to chip away at your Belichick is terrible take, and Belichick continues to make you look smarter and smarter. So I guess you get to just crow here a little bit.
I mean, assume that we all saw the same headlines this week. Robert Kraft would be willing to think about changing coaches if Belichick continues to fail. I mean, this isn't just something I picked out of the blue. People are starting to see these signs that have been out there. Unfortunately, I think this Patriots team has much more problems than just Belichick or Mac Jones. I think the entire roster is built as a subpar team. It's very hard to find real talent anywhere on that roster.
I can't believe I'm going to support your argument, but that's also Belichick's fault because he's the player personnel guy. So anybody that comes into the team is Belichick's decision.
Right?
So I suppose the fact that they don't have a lot of talent over the last 3 years, ever since Tom Brady has left, and even the couple of years before Brady left, which they say is the reason why he got out of town, Belichick just hasn't done a great job. Williams, we'll come to you on this. Do you see it getting turned around for the Patriots, or should we should start betting against the Patriots every week here? Oh, wait. Hold on. Hold your Patriots thoughts. I see you have them as one of your 3 picks. Let's not spoil any of your good information there. You'll give us some Patriots thoughts when we get to one of your picks of the week. All right, let's move on then to I'll give what people aren't talking enough about. We did our obligatory Bears check-in. My what people aren't talking about enough will help us out with our obligatory Colts check-in. Shane Steichen, okay? We all know that every year there's what we call the new coach bounce. Some coach takes over. The previous coach was terrible. A team is lifted up. Last year it was the Jacksonville Jaguars. Doug Peterson came in and cleaned up the mess that Urban Meyer left. This year, we thought it was going to be Sean Payton out in Denver, cleaning up the mess that Nat Hackett left. Boy, were we dead wrong on that one. It's quite possible that the new coach bounce is going to be Shane Steichen. This Indianapolis Colts football team right now through the season has 577 yards passing out of Anthony Richardson, 553 yards passing out of Gardner Minshew. It doesn't even matter who's a quarterback for Shane Steichen. He's still making 328 yards a game happening. Matt Canada hadn't even had the Pittsburgh Steelers over 300 yards in a long time. Steichen's averaging that a game with 2 different quarterbacks. We're getting 5.2 yards a play and 12 touchdowns with what many people would say is a subpar cast of wide receivers and running backs, except for Jonathan Taylor, I suppose, and quarterbacks that he's rotating in and out. Shane Steichen, people aren't talking enough about you, my man, except for our guy, Mr. Williams, who told us at the beginning of the year Shane Steichen was the truth.
Yeah, I like Steichen a lot. I think the Colts have a bright future with their head coach and their quarterback, as long as Richardson can stay healthy. And I mean, you have one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league with Minshew. So, yeah, I like Steichen a lot, man. He does a lot of smart things analytically and puts his quarterbacks in position to win. It'll be interesting to see if he changes the game plan at all with Minshew going forward the next month. He didn't really change it in that game against Baltimore. It worked out, but we'll see if he changes the passing offense a little bit more going forward.
Let's go to our reporter on the ground. Our Indianapolis Colts season ticket holder, Mr. Jamriska, was in the building Saturday night. He had a big weekend in Indy, Jimmy did. Saturday night, he was at Gamebridge Fieldhouse for WWE Fastlane, popping with me and everybody else. And then Sunday, he's at the Colts game versus I don't even remember who they're playing now. It doesn't matter. The Colts won. Jimmy, when Gardner Minshew came in, what's that building like? Is there a buzz? Are people excited to see the Gardner come in? What was it like in that building?
We were very nervous about Anthony Richardson laying on the ground again. He didn't slide again. I thought he learned. He needs to learn, but he'll get there. But it was kind of okay, he's gone. We weren't nervous, though, because Gardner Minshew can come in and take care of things. But, Rod, you have come to me every show for the past month about our Jonathan Taylor update, and you have the audacity to not come to me today, of all days, because Jonathan Taylor was announced with the starters right before Richardson, second to last person. He got a huge ovation. No one cares that he held out. He signed 3 years, $42 million, 26 guaranteed. He is back. He had 6 carries for 18 yards. He had a reception. Zach Moss decided to have his best game as a Colt because, of course, he did. You mentioned Taylor's a great running back. Zach Moss is helping Gardner Minshew out a lot too, so we're excited. JT's back, Zach Moss is rocking, and Gardner Minshew, your boy, is taking us to the playoffs.
All right, first off, that's me. Chris, we're going to go ahead and say that you don't have to go to broadcasting school this week. I will take your position because I clearly need a refresher after just absolutely bricking that and not throwing it to Jimmy there with the Jonathan Taylor update. Yeah, man, I continue to be surprised by this Colts team. Chris has had a negative campaign against me and tanking for a while. He has sullied my reputation in the streets as someone who actually roots for his team to lose. That is not wholly true. I just look at the situation in front of me, and when it's beneficial to lose, I say, why don't you go ahead and do it? But Chris, I am all in on this Colts team, all right? Richardson's exciting. I'm bummed out that he's hurt. You know how much I love Gardner. Let's go. Fun to be a Colts fan right now.
Yeah, it is. For one thing, I think this helps that we do have Gardner Minshew on this Colts team. For you, I think if we had a different backup in there, like a Jacoby Brissett, you'd probably be still hollering for us to lose. I was surprised that Taylor signed. I predicted he would never play for the Colts again. I was wrong there. Moss has just turned out every single game and gave us good quality carries. He's third in the NFL in rushing yards right now with 445. He's averaging 111 in a game. That is great production. Kind of makes you think that maybe we didn't need to spend all that extra money to keep Taylor on the team.
Thank you for bringing up rushing stats as well. I didn't look any of those up for Steichen, but I'm sure he's got a little bit to do with that as well. So good things for the Colts offense. Chris told you a couple of things that he knew there about his favorite team, the Colts, but now he's going to tell you a couple of things that he doesn't know.
Yeah, guys, I do not know anything about running football teams or what all that entails, especially when a team travels, but I got to think that something's got to be done about some of these teams. And I'm going to go back a couple weeks ago to start this out because Denver traveled to Miami, all right, early in the season. You know it's going to be hot. You know that field temperature is going to be above 90 to 95, 100 degrees. And that's what it was. And you know what? Denver had prepared for shade and to keep their players cool. Two guys holding random pieces of fabric between them to give a little bit of shade to the players while they were on the bench. They had nothing prepared. And I initially chalked that up to just Denver being Denver. But again, this week we see it. Buffalo Bills, who I thought was a good organization, decided not to travel to London till very late in the week. And I think you could really see them have difficult being prepared and up for the game against Jacksonville. I know Jacksonville had been there from the week prior, so they didn't have to worry. But we've already seen this week where Baltimore went early and they seemed pumped and prepped and ready to go. I think if you are traveling to London to play in these games as a team, you need to make sure that your team gets over there early so you don't have that type of performance that we saw from Buffalo last week.
Yeah, I think that's a good call out by you there, actually. This is something that I think teams are definitely going to have to worry about because it's clear that the NFL wants to continue playing games over there in Europe. We even have a Germany game this year. So definitely something teams are going to have to watch out for. You are a big proponent of the West Coast to East Coast. So now I guess we'll just add from the United States to Europe as one of your trips that you're worried about. Williams, what do you got?
Yeah, what's crazy is that this is happening again this week. So the Ravens are going out super early on Monday because Harbaugh is super into analytics. You got a bunch of people, experts studying this. The Ravens went out in 2017 to London, lost to Jacksonville by 37 points. They got there late. But what's interesting is that the Titans, they are going out super late. They're going out on Friday, just like what Buffalo did last week. So, I mean, signs point to the Ravens winning this game, but I mean, we'll have to see. It's very surprising that the Titans are going out super late, like Buffalo did last week.
Yeah, we always are on this podcast praising Mike Vrabel for his great decisions, Jimmy. I mean, this is one we might have to question him on if Tennessee looks pretty bad over there in Europe, no?
But it's Nashville, so it's not like it's that far of a flight.
Buffalo
You know,
thought that.
it's an 8-hour flight. I don't know if it's that horrible, but again, I think I kind of side with Williams on this. If you're going anywhere different, you want to get there as early as possible. The hotels are different. Going through customs is different. All that, everything is the food is different. You got to get used to stuff over there.
Yeah, I don't believe that Baltimore has to worry about playing in Andy's room. I don't think that's happening for this particular Europe game.
I hope
So
not.
that's good for them. So let's move on
Well,
to
it's one thing. It's not just an 8-hour flight though, because you're also losing about 8 hours in time on top of that 8-hour flight. So that's a 16-hour time frame that you essentially lose as a player. Doing that late in the week can really mess with your inner clock. And I think that we've seen that and you hear it from former players. They have told you. I heard Brady Quinn talking about it. They went late. It was the most tired he had ever been before a game. Let's not put that through there. And I hope it's not because these teams are trying to save money by not putting up a whole, taking over a whole hotel for an extra 3 or 4 days. I hope it's not because of that.
I think, listen, your answer to this and every other question is usually money. So that's probably involved.
It's exactly that.
But speaking of money, Williams here, we got a new feature this year. We call it Futures Market Watch. That's where our guy, the handicapper, is looking at a futures type bet and some adjustment in what we've seen on the field so far. Mr. Williams, what do you got for us this week?
All right, so this kind of ties into my first pick here. But if you look at the MVP awards, this guy, if we would have told you that he's 50-1 right now on DK at the beginning of the year, you would have jumped out of your seat to bet him. I think he's back, baby. I think he's back. It's none other than Joey Burrow. Let's go, baby. 50-1. You're telling me 50-1? Week 5? It's week 5. It's week 5, and he's 50-1. He was moving around in that pocket last week. He's throwing 3 touchdowns to Jamar Chase. He's going to get T. Higgins back. He plays a tough schedule, but if he gets those wins with the tough schedule, he's going to be right there. He plays San Francisco. He plays Baltimore. He plays Jacksonville. He gets Indy and Minnesota, 2 secondaries that you can exploit. He gets Kansas City. He still has 3 primetime games. And when you look at, if you think the Bengals can win the AFC North, it's really only the quarterback who wins that division. So if you cut it down to like 8, neither quarterback from the South is going to win it. Mahomes is having not a great year. I don't think they would give it to him after they've given it to him a couple different times. If you jump over to the NFC, I just don't think they're going to give it to Dak. Philly still has a ridiculously tough schedule after their bye where they could lose 3, 4, 5, 6 games. Hurts is still definitely in the mix. Josh Allen has a ton of injuries with Buffalo. I don't think Buffalo's winning that division. And if Miami wins the division, I think more credit is going to go to Mike McDaniels and how fast everybody is on that roster. So then if you look at that, who is that down to? That leaves you with none other than Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy, who is 7-1 right now. You can't bet that. And I think if San Francisco wins that division, I think more credit will go to Shanahan and all the weapons that Purdy has around him. And think about how much the media loves Joe Burrow. I saw some people saying that they should tank if they lose that Arizona game with Joe Burrow, with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd all on the rookie contracts. To me, is absolutely ridiculous that you would even think about tanking with Joe Burrow. This dude, everybody loves him. They said that he couldn't win the division. If they come back and win the division, I just think Joe Burrow 50-1 is tremendous value here. Value market, MVP market. Let's go, DK.
Jimmy, I'm going to come to you real quick on this one. What do you think the chances are our guy, Joey Burr, made a secret trip over to Germany and got himself some of those platinum or platelet, whatever kind of thing you can get, PRP injections, whatever you can get over there that you can't get here? What do you think the chances are that old Joey got some of those in his knee?
I think the chances are extremely high that happened because it was a completely different person from the week before. How does that happen? Listen, he's an athlete. Maybe he just heals quicker. We've heard that before, though, haven't we? And they didn't heal quicker. They got some stuff. So I think that that's probably what happened. And I'm not going to lie, as someone who likes Joey B, let's go. I'm fine with it.
Somebody else who's probably fine with it is probably the biggest Joe Burrow apologist on this podcast. Chris, you just heard Williams's great information there. You had to be getting pretty excited down there in North Carolina because you love you some Joe Burrow.
I love Joey Burr, and let me tell you, he was my preseason pick to win the MVP on this podcast, along with Jamar Chase as Offensive Player of the Year. So I need to see more games like that from them, and if that happens, then yeah, he does become right there with Purdy or a Tua or a Jalen Hurts, possibly, if he keeps improving. So I think that's a real good futures bet at 50-1. Let's go.
Gardner Minshew, baby. Keep Gardner Minshew on your lips, all right? These Colts win the AFC South. Let's go. Come on. Minshew, the stash, Uncle Rico. We would all love seeing him winning the NFL MVP trophy. All right, we talked about Burrow. His team, Cincinnati, is taking on my pick at the beginning of the year for Coach of the Year, and he may still be in the running. The old guy still got it. It's Pete Carroll and those Seattle Seahawks. Williams, what do you got for us on that game?
Yeah, kind of giving it away here. I'm going to take Cincinnati minus 2.5 against Seattle. It's minus 115 on MGM. And I like this Seattle team long term. They are coming off a bye here. But like I said, I think Joey Burr turned a corner there. I think he looks like he's back. And normally this Seattle D isn't a D that gets pressure. They only got a ton of pressure last game because the Giants O-line is a turnstile. And Burrow is 17-4 straight up when he plays outside his own division. If you look at Trey Hendrickson too, he's become a great defensive end for the Bengals. He has 6 sacks, should be 9 sacks really, because he's got 3 called back due to illegal contact down the field. And remember, the Seahawks offensive line has had 2 of their tackles get banged up early on. They had a guard miss some time in their last game. I think the market isn't adjusting enough to what seems to be a much more healthy Burrow, and they are adjusting too much to what they saw from Seattle versus the Giants on Monday Night Football 2 weeks ago. I think this line could easily be Cincy minus 4. If you think Burrow is even, 80 to 85% back, we're getting 1.5 of value here, taking Cincy at home versus a non-divisional opponent in Seattle. I like the Bengals minus 2.5.
Seattle coming off of a bye week. I know because Geno Smith is my fantasy quarterback, and I didn't get the chance to play him last week. So we'll see what they do coming off a bye week. Pete Carroll had a little extra time to coach him up, so we'll see what the Seattle Seahawks do there. I'm always a Seattle supporter. I got some family out there in the Pacific Northwest. Let's move on to the Jets. Jets, go Jets. And Jimmy, I'm going to come to you on something real quick. I literally read this like an hour before we came on the podcast. Speaking of the Jets and Mr. Aaron Rodgers. I know you're a big Pat McAfee guy.
I read it 5 minutes ago.
So, I was going to say, but what's your stance, huh? Do you have a problem with Pat paying Aaron to come on the show, or do you not care the way that Pat was passionate and telling everyone that they shouldn't?
I have a problem with them not saying that they did that, because it was all, hey, I'm good friends with H.A. Hawk. It's kind of like saying you've been immunized when someone asks you if you were vaccinated, and you don't really say you were vaccinated, but you weren't vaccinated. It's kind of like a little white lie there. So it doesn't surprise me at all. And honestly, I don't care about the vax or not vax. He lied about that. And they also weren't completely truthful on this, because he wasn't doing it out of the goodness of his heart. He got paid for it, which is fine. Just tell us. I'm sorry. That's some bullshit. And yes, I have to put the explicit tag on now.
No,
Okay,
I'll tell you
I have a little bit of issue with that take, and I'm just going to
Let's fucking go, because that's bullshit.
All right,
Let's go.
I'll back Pat McAfee up here, because he didn't pay Aaron Rodgers until they got the numbers back and got paid for those podcasts that he first came on. And it was $450,000 is what he paid him. And it's
He said $1 million. No, he said $1 million. He said he's made $1 million on it. Pat McAfee said $1 million. Read all sources, Chris.
I'm just referring to what Pat McAfee said on his podcast live today. The first check was for $450,000. I'm not aware of what happened after the fact. But if you have guests on that become a recurring guest, a weekly guest on your TV show, and let's consider this like a sitcom, and you get a recurring role, you're getting paid for that recurring role. If you are a person who brings value to a company and helps that company make money, you should get compensated for that. Whether or not it's made public should be up to the people that are involved in that contract.
No, because no. Because he's coming on Not as a guest. This is a not a complete news program. It is not news, but we need to see that if he's part of the show or he's a guest on the show, completely different there. Okay, completely different. Just need to know. Just let us know. You got paid. Great. Let's move on to the next question. That's all we needed to know.
Also, Chris, I think the ESPN of it all now is a little bit thorny here. Okay. If you're an ESPN reporter and you go on that show, are you now expecting to be paid? Is Aaron Rodgers getting paid by ESPN now because he is continuing to appear on the show? I just think it brings up a lot of issues. And I understand sticking up for your guy. Nobody wants to kill Pat here. We're all wrestling fans.
Pat McAfee.
We all love Pat.
Him.
It's still Pat's company. Pat's company has a contract with ESPN to be broadcast on ESPN. Pat's company is making these payments to the employees. To think that
is he paying everybody? That's my question then, Chris. Is he paying everybody? Is every single person that's coming on the Pat McAfee show getting paid by Pat McAfee?
I would have to imagine that everybody that comes on that show on a regular basis gets some sort of compensation. Yes. It would surprise me if they didn't.
That's such an artful dodge by you right there. You really are becoming a podcaster.
Yeah, I mean,
either way, Rod.
The ESPN people, it's part of their job, and that's kind of known. But other people, other guests, I mean, if Aaron Rodgers is sitting in there like Pac-Man Jones getting paid. If he's not, he's making a long drive for, just for some screen time. But all I need to know is just let us know. That's it.
All right, Chris, let me ask you one last question here then. So Aaron Rodgers has come on that show and he's dropped some absolute whoppers. All right. He's made some news. He said some pretty controversial things. Do you then say it's okay for us to hold the Pat McAfee show accountable for all the things that Aaron Rodgers said since they are paying Aaron Rodgers to appear on their show? Is that then fair?
I mean, you're asking me to dive into libel law and stuff like that and who's responsible for who says what. And to be honest,
aren't you responsible for your paid employees? Like, you just made an impassioned argument for the fact that Aaron Rodgers is basically an employee of the Pat McAfee show. So basically, if one of your employees says something, aren't you responsible for him?
I mean, I would count him as an employee as much as Uber counts their drivers as employees. He's more like an independent contractor. I'm sure you guys know that that's how they're going to do that tax business. So that gives the Pat McAfee company that type of buffer that they don't have to take responsibility for what gets said on there. And it's an opinion entertainment show anyway. It's not ever been said that this is a news show.
So it's truthiness is basically what you're telling me. It's the Stephen Colbert show all over again. It's truthiness. All right, listen, we kept Williams out of this too long. We went on me, Jimmy, and Chris, we like to get after it every once in a while. We like to argue with one another. That's not Williams's game. He's sitting over here completely nervous. You can see him. He's just like, oh my God, I just want to talk referee stats. What are you guys doing? So Williams, get us back to things with Philly versus the Jets.
I do have some referee stats for this game. We're going to go Eagles Jets under 41. It's across the board. Look, Jets are 23rd in pace here. Philly's 25th. Jets are also dead last in pace in neutral situations. Remember, the Broncos last year having all kinds of trouble getting the play calls in under Nathaniel, don't call me Buddy Hackett. That's the same offensive coordinator as the Jets, man. So it's no wonder why they're taking their sweet time calling in those plays for Zach Wilson. Meanwhile, the Eagles are bottom half in the league in pace when they have the lead. And the Jets also just lost their best offensive lineman in Elijah Vera Tucker. Look, the Jets just had a super emotional win for their offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett. It was an elevation. They got a fluky defensive touchdown late in the fourth quarter. I mean, now the Jets get a step up versus this Eagles D-line. Philly held what has been a very impressive and tough to defend passing game from the Rams to 14 points in L.A. They have to be licking their chops now going up against this Zach Wilson-led offense. And we've seen this Philly offense when they play against lesser offensive opponents, they get out to a lead and then they kind of just sit on the ball in the fourth quarter. And so their last two road games at the Rams and at the Bucs both went under. Their last two games of last season versus similar offenses in the Saints and the Giants both went under. And yeah, one last thing. Like I said, we got some ref stats here. Scott Novak and his crew is reffing this game. Last year, his games were 11-5 to the under, and home dogs just 1-3-1 against the spread through 5 games. That game script benefits us here because that would mean if Philly gets up early, this would tend to lean towards what we were saying, and that Philly kind of just sits on the ball in the fourth quarter, making the under an even stronger play. I like Jets Eagles under 41 here.
Scotty Too Hottie Novak is a king of the unders. Williams has you there, and he's also got jokes. Jimmy, over or under 3 people who listen to this podcast who know who Buddy Hackett is?
Well, I know Chris does because he roomed with him in college. But other than that, I'd say probably the under on that one.
Williams
Our
has got
demo
jokes.
our demo isn't over 70.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Buddy Hackett, for those of you out there, let me see. Who can I do? He's a voice in the Little Mermaid, right? That's probably the one thing that we can all do. He's the crab, the seagull? I can't remember. He's a voice in the Little Mermaid. He's a voice in the Little Mermaid, and he was famous for being on the Johnny Carson show. And then Johnny Carson's probably too old for some people who might be listening to this podcast. Williams, though, I love it. Take your jokes anytime you want them, my man. Bill Belichick has been the butt of many jokes. Oh, do you see what I just did there? Maybe I don't need to go back to podcasting school. Pats versus Raiders. Let's go. Williams, what do you got for us?
I told Chris the Pats were going to cover against the Saints, and what did they do? They went out and lost 34-0. Do I dare go back to them again? What do you guys think? I'm going Pats +3 minus 115 on MGM. And listen, me and Chris are going to go head-to-head here. I got all kinds of stats here. Since 2005, dogs off of shutout losses are 44-26 against the spread. That's 63%. Over the last 5 years, road dogs off a loss of 20 or more are 50-26 against the spread. That's 66%. And then listen to this Belichick stat, Chris. Belichick off a double-digit loss is 25-9-1 against the spread. That's 74%, covering by over 5 points per game. But I know what Chris is going to say. All those were with Brady. Listen to this, Chris. 9-6-1 against the spread, 60% without Brady. Without Brady.
Oh.
Belichick. Raiders are 30th in pressure rate. We've seen the Patriots have trouble with pressure with the schedule they've played. Raiders don't get any pressure. They've had horrible turnover luck for the Pats. The Raiders play to keep everything in front of them. Jordan Love got greedy on Monday night. He kept chucking it down the field. That's not how you beat this Raiders D. You take what they give you, easy pitch and catch. And listen, I said the Pats have had terrible turnover luck. If you're going to play anybody, you want to play the Raiders. Jimmy G, under the radar here, bad. 7 picks in 4 starts for Jimmy G. And here's one last trend massively going against the Raiders. Since 1990, teams coming off a night game, and by the way, this is short rest for them, and playing against a team that lost its previous game by 20-plus points are 64, 103, and 5 against the spread. That's 38% if you're going to back the Raiders here. And over the last 2 decades, there's been 8 teams that have scored a combined 3 points in back-to-back games like the Patriots have. I know they have looked terrible, but the following week, 7 out of 8 of those teams covered in that third game. That's 88% against the spread. Last thing, 78% of tickets are on New England here, but even more so, 91% of the money is on the Pats here. That surprises me because you would think the public would be all over the Raiders here, but the Raiders are a fraud. Pats can't be this bad. Plus, Josh McDaniels has been absolutely terrible. He made another boneheaded play to kick a 52-yard field goal last game to take it from a 1-possession game to a 1-possession game on a 4th and 1. McDaniels is an absolute bozo this year. We have a massive coaching advantage. Let's go Pats +3 on Sunday.
All right, Chris, we all know you're foaming at the mouth. We're going to let you get to it here in just a second, but I need a ruling from Judge Jamriska, okay? Williams gave us a stat in there where he said Belichick after a double-digit loss. I question that because Belichick's actually coming off of 2 double-digit losses in a row. So is Williams' stat there actually bogus? I come to you, Judge Jamriska.
You know what? Chris was waiting. That was the first thing he was going to say. I think that is a bogus loss because you're also, it wasn't with Brady. Fine. Guess what? Belichick ain't Belichick anymore. Chris King, get him.
There's really only one stat I need to throw back here against Williams when it comes to this Patriots team and this guy, Mac Jones, who seems to be quarterbacking this team. Because I don't know if Williams has found this stat, because I found it. And if he did find it, why he purposely left it out of this conversation. But
Liar.
Mac Jones is 0-12 against the spread as an underdog in his last 12 starts.
That's not very good, is it?
I don't even see the Raiders being able to snatch defeat away from victory in this contest.
All right, let me ask you guys all this question. Do we think the new Las Vegas Sphere factors in any way, shape, or form here? All right, it's open now. U2 performed a concert in there. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the videos. It looks absolutely amazing. Do we think that the Las Vegas Sphere plays any effect here? Williams, did you do any Las Vegas Sphere research when you were handicapping this game?
When I was out there last month, I saw it up close and personal. This thing is wild, man. It's wild. You got to check it out. It's yeah, and I've heard like the concert tickets, like you actually want to be like up. You actually don't want like the closer tickets on this thing, but to I seen it's like messing with golfers now. That's like a couple 100 feet away. Get the emoji face and it's winking at them. It's, oh man, it's messing with all kinds of people. This thing is crazy, but no, well, I mean, the Sphere. We'll see. We'll see what the Raiders have to do with that.
Listen, that's absolutely incredible. Jimmy Williams just gave us a Sphere breakdown right there. Usually when I throw to nonsense with Williams, he just sidesteps me and moves right on. He had Sphere stats.
Williams, you're improving. I like it. You know what I think it is? I think he's got a rival now because that stat by Chris was amazing. And let me look at my notes, the transcription here. Williams really didn't mention much about that stat, now did he?
No. He forgot that one, I bet.
I'm aware of that stat. You got to get better
Listen.
offensive line play here on Sunday.
That's what it is. Okay, it's not Matt. It's the offensive lineman. Maybe they should change him all every play like Notre Dame did.
Yeah, that worked out real well for
that
Notre
could be
Dame
the
versus
solution.
Louisville.
They can't be worse.
Listen,
they
I
are.
think Jimmy's on
They
to
are.
something here when he says Mac Jones might be on his way out. We could see a Bailey Zappi here. Or did Bailey Zappi get cut and they have Brian Hoyer again? I'm not even entirely sure who's the backup quarterback there.
Well, he did get cut, but they re-signed him, and he looked even worse than Mac Jones last week. But it's fine. It's fine. Belichick is amazing, right, everybody?
And again, listen, I just needed one more time to prove to the listeners that I don't watch nearly as many football games as Williams and Chris do. All right. That's why I go to these guys for the answers, and I'm just here to help keep moving things along. All right. I'm making jokes. I'm trying to explain to people who Buddy Hackett is in The Little Mermaid, but I can't even remember what character he is. I'm not really sure what purpose I serve these days, but we're trying to have a good time here on the Morgan Podcasting Network. We always have a good time when we're talking wrestling, when we're talking, again, maybe I am back in the podcast school. I got to wrap this thing up. I am fading fast. All right. Check out the wrestling show with me, Jimmy, and Chris. Always good stuff over there. And then we're going to have a pop culture show coming up for you very soon where me and the Mrs. Morgan, and Jimmy and a few other cast of characters, we have some things planned for you. We have another draft coming up soon, and I will give you one hint and one hint only for the draft. It's not going to give it away at all. It's going to make you really intrigued. And that hint is gas station. That will be coming in the upcoming weeks on the Morgan, Podcasting Network. Chris, anything left to say? I think you usually close us out here.
Goodbye, Internet.